Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Campus Point Special Interviews. And today we have a very special guest. I'm delighted to host the voice behind Scars of Warrior. This lady is beautiful. She's a writer. She's an African, that's for sure. And she's also an artist. So let's meet the voice behind the podcast Scars of Warrior. It's in Campus Vines. Let's go meet her. I'm your host, Derrick. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, today we are going to be meeting the podcaster, the owner of the podcast, Scars of Warrior. It is in campusvines.com. Check it out. Before we get in, skiza kiasi. And now let's meet the podcasters of Scars of Warrior, Sly. I call her Sly, but she'll get to tell us who is Sly.
So hi Ricky.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so humbled. It's such an honor to be here, and it has been such an honor to work with you guys. And you guys should check out CV. It's a very interesting magazine. You should check out the articles. I have written on articles, self-body acceptance, and you should see the other interesting things in there. So Sly. When you see me here, this is Sly. I'm Sylvia, Chico, or Sly. Most people call me Sly because it sounds more fun. I don't know, but most
it's
people.
Short.
yes. But people ask me, "Are you Sly really?" And I don't think I'm Sly. I'm just Sylvia. I'm Sly though. So Sly is such a humble woman, and when you see me, what I believe in, my core value is authenticity. That is rawness, realness. That's my core value. And when it comes to Sylvia, I grew up in a very humble background. And growing up, I really didn't grow up with any social skills. But I had to really gain this. I had to learn how to socialize. And being a kid, I remember I used to want to be a journalist so badly. And I'm grateful that it came to happen, it came to pass, because you see this slide here, I'm doing journalism and communication at Mugo University for the year. And I've really gained a lot of my social skills. So Sly is very simple in terms of I'm an artist. I sketch. I also bid. That's actually a business I've been doing for some time. I bid. And I also write. And apart from that, I'm a very good voice. I can voice things, And I believe in expressing yourself, be it in the vocal sense, be it in the way you dress, be it in the way you just see how people see you. I just believe in expressing yourself. So that's just a simple definition of Sylvia.
You said you bid.
Yes.
Are these some of the...
Yes, these are some of my things. I do it for myself. I do every kind of bid work there is.
Is there some knowledge required to know how to bid things?
Yes, this is a skill you learn. I actually learned this Corona period. I just saw this lady who was bidding and I was like, if she does it, why not me? So I was like, this is a skill. She has opened her own business. Why not me? I could do it, and just because I love the beading art itself, so I love the ornaments themselves. So I was like, why not learn this skill? And I learned it, and it's been practice, and practice makes perfect.
Do you have a signature? No job. When someone decides to design something, there is that unique part of them.
Yes.
Do you have something unique about your
Yes, I do customize beadwork, so that's unique enough. I do unique stuff. I've not seen many people wearing rings that are made of beads. Most people prefer these kind of rings, but I can do this. I actually have some of my fingers. Yes.
I can use some of those.
Yeah, you just have to say it with a good price. Yes.
How much?
We'll talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get to Scars of Warrior.
Yes.
What led you to developing a podcast or just this talk about, just Scars of Warrior? What led you to it?
Yes. So I've always wanted a platform where I'd express myself, because I'm so vocal in terms of friendship, in terms of meeting someone. I'm so vocal, and I've always wanted a place where I'd be able to express myself. So I remember I used to actually see some people doing podcasts, a friend of mine, Wamboy, used to do this podcast. And one time I was like, hey, how do you do this, And they told me this is the way you go about, and this, every day is a learning process, you learn how things are done, And when they taught me how to do it, I was like, why not? So I sat down and I was like, I want to do a podcast. What is my intention with this podcast? I want to enlighten people. For me, it was not money goal oriented. For me, it was more about knowledge. Knowledge is power. When you get enlightened, you get some form of power, So for me, I thought of something that I relate with, something that I wouldn't have forced it from anywhere else. It would be so natural within me. And using my childhood and growing up, I've really grown through a very lonely childhood that had to make me go through a lot of scars inside me, They're called traumas, So I had to really heal so many parts of me, I'm still in the healing process of life. It's an ongoing process. That's how growth is. So when I started, I was like, a warrior, when he goes to war, he always comes back with scars. And those scars, all of them have a story to tell. He was hit by an arrow, he was hit by a knife, and that was the story, And even you growing up, you grew up, the way actually boys have a very long history of scars because they have been up and about, Yeah, so you have scars in your body, yes, and they all have a story to tell, and not just the outward scars. There's that inner scars. The inner scars that are in there, They're also scars, And I thought of the scars of a warrior. Everyone has a tale to tell. Everyone out here has a tale to tell. And the more people tell tales, the more actually you realize you're not alone. You're not the only one who has scars. It's not a shameful thing. After all, your scars are beautiful, So yes, I have been thinking, and I was like, I think scars of a warrior fit in because the tales that tell about the scars are actually what matter, and this is actually what is going to form my content. And in the sense that when you have scars, you have to heal to become better. And that's one way of healing, talking, expressing yourself. So in doing this, I'm actually healing, In doing Scars of a Warrior, this is the face of Scars of a Warrior. I'm full of scars. I'm still trying to heal by talking about the things I have gone through, facing vulnerability in the most direct way, and actually making other people talk about the things they're scared about, Yeah.
You said in the healing process,
yes,
you can require some people to to heal with.
Yes.
And also you've said it is when you develop Scars of a Warrior, you are trying to tell your story among other people too.
Yes.
There's an episode you did about dreadlocks.
Yes.
What inspired it?
Oh damn, okay. I have locks that I have had for almost now 4 years, and every time you walk, the society is changing, we can agree with that.
Yeah.
But a long time ago, if you were seen with dreadlocks, you'd be stereotyped immediately. You'd not be given even a job. Even a job itself, you would be denied because you have dreadlocks on your head. But over time, people have to understand what it means for people who have locks. I had a very interactive conversation. I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about people who have dreadlocks. And they were purely people who had dreadlocks. And they were talking about the experience, about the journey that comes with dreadlocks, and how hard it is for people to understand what it means for them by judging them without actually wanting to know why do you have dreadlocks, what do they mean to you, or how did it take, what was the journey behind all this, So I wanted to enlighten people more about dreadlocks and what they mean for people. It's not a rebellion, it's not a way of communicating, but it's a way of expressing yourself. That's how some people choose to express themselves, natural hair and just like that, Yeah. So that was my thought about dreadlocks, because out here people are having stereotypes that need to be killed, People need to kill these stereotypes that come with people expressing themselves, because some people are damaged through these things, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When you offered a job,
yes,
alafu uambiwe you have to shave
yes,
for you to get, ama you just have to get rid of the law.
Yes.
Would you?
Personally, I respect companies' policies because they come with that for a reason, you get.
Yeah.
But for one, I want to be in an environment where I am comfortable working and expressing myself, because it's called authenticity at workplace. You know, this is what is leading so many people to be unproductive in workplaces, because they are there for the money and not for the service. You know, service has to be that thing that you love doing. You know, at the end of the day, you're going home feeling like your cup is filled. So for me, I don't feel like that's one of my values. I not really conform to someone who doesn't want to understand why I have my locks on. I will try and understand why they are uncomfortable with me working there with my locks. Maybe they want it neat, maybe they want it in a certain hairstyle, but if they just don't like it at all, and my time is not yet right for me to cut my locks, I don't think I will do that, because I'll be abusing myself, because I'm not being real to myself. Yes.
Your slogan is nimejileta mimi mwenyewe.
Yes.
Let me do my work.
Yes. Yes.
Looks zangu don't
judge me with my looks, just see me for who I am. Yeah.
And also there's an episode you did about the street kids.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That so far has been my best. I went home feeling so jolly, emotional. I had all type of feelings. It was one evening I had been thinking, you know, most times I spend with these people. I spend with these people, young people who are in the streets, and we vibe a lot in a way I don't understand how, but we vibe. So I was just thinking, and I was like, if someone had their story, and if I also had their story, I would also get to understand what goes through them, because we have seen people actually stereotype a lot of these people, you know. So one day in the evening I go and I am like, hi. I knew one of them, and they introduced me. At first they were so hesitant to telling me about the street kids and all that. And when I got to actually talk to them, that people don't actually have to see your faces, they just need to hear your voice, because your voice is all that matters, you know. People out here live with ignorance, without knowing what's going on. They see you and they see like you're gonna steal from them, and they see like you're busted. So I wanna know what's your story. And they started telling me about their stories, how they've been surviving, what led them to the streets. Some of them were telling me what is stopping them from actually living is actually not having an ID. And the thing about not having an ID is because most of them have past histories that restrict them from having their birth certificates. And the government, the county government, doesn't really lend an ear to them. And they continued telling me about how they would be helped out, you know. And they were like, especially the youth, tell them we need them to know that we're people like them. And when they see us on the streets, let them enlighten us. And you know, they were ready to say, if I was given a chance to change today, and you took me to a rehabilitation center, I'd be ready to change, because it's you who helps me out and I help my friend out, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a very enlightening topic for me, because I didn't even know some of these things that some funds are taken from them, you know. I didn't really know some of these things happen, and they were telling me that some people come saying that they are going to help them out, and they get donors out there, and they actually infringe them by not even doing the things they promised to do, you know. So I got to understand some of these things. Some of them were so bitter, some of them it was so raw for me, and I needed other people to hear about it. Yes.
You know, when basically in the mentality of just any normal Kenyan,
yeah.
When you see a street kid, you just see, as in, venye nitakuona si venye nitaona street kid.
Yes.
So is that what you tried to bring out?
Yes. You know, the first thing they said is, we want to just tell the youth, yeah? Let them know that we are people just like you. And for me, I believe that nobody is exceptional. If I'm caring about myself, I should care about you. regardless of who you are, I should really care about you because you are me and I am you, you know. So that is what they were trying to say, and for me, I felt it so deep. If you're there at the streets, okay, they are addicted. Some of them are addicted to drugs because that's the only way of numbing pain, you know. It's not easy to live outside the streets, you know, and it can happen to anyone, any second, you know. But if you can help someone get some food, go get them some food. If you can help someone get some fruit, get them a balanced diet. These people rarely have fruits, you know. Just help them out because they are normal people just like you. Yeah. That was intense, I know.
Okay, so those episodes are on page on Spotify. Just go to Spotify, then search through Scars of a Warrior and listen to all the episodes. And also on our website, Campus Vines, go under podcast, then under Scars of a Warrior, you'll see it there.
Yeah.
So, Sly, since you started the podcast, what has been your experience? The good side, the bad side, ups and downs?
Yeah.
What has been your experience?
To be honest, I have really enjoyed doing what I do because this is something I enjoy doing. I enjoy listening to people and interacting with the different kinds of people. I enjoy telling stories, telling tales. I bet I'll be that grandmother who will be calling her grandkids there and telling them stories until they sleep, until they're tired and they're like, we're going to sleep. So yeah, I really have enjoyed the experience. It's been amazing because at first I thought that it's about me and you know that it's gonna be, you know, something that, but when I started to interact with other people, I learned that I was learning some new things, some new ideas, some new opinions, some new stories. I could actually get enlightened myself, you know. So it has been an enlightening process for me, and hearing feedback from the many people around me, it has been so enlightening and amazing for me, heartwarming, because people, when they tell you, you know, you're doing something great for this society we're living in, you're doing something, it's impacting some of us, it feels nice, you know. And I can say I'm overall grateful, like so grateful that it has been going the way it is, you know. And some of the challenges I've been facing out here is branding, you know, getting people to hear these stories, you know. Yeah, it has been difficult because, you know, most people find it hard, you know, because sometimes you have technical issues with Spotify. You can find it at Anchor FM too, Spotify, Google Podcast. Yes, but not so many people will understand how to go about that. So at the end of the day, I get that my audience is reducing with time. In the beginning, it was going higher and higher, but with time, people start to just drop out, you know, because it's a lot of work to listen, you know. Not everyone is gifted in listening, you know, but I can say that there are people who have been listening from the start till the end. But branding, yes, has been a problem, but I'm working on it. Yes.
You know, research a while back,
yes,
it indicated that when you compare a podcast in Kenya and a podcast in the, let's say, USA, that one in the USA is deemed to do better than the one in Kenya, simply because awareness of podcasts in Kenya is very, very low. So, what would you do to make your podcast, you know, like ikue out there, ikue appreciated, ikue as in watu wajue nini, watu wakujue, what would you do?
I'd say, you know, podcasts are a competition with the normal radio. People are used to the normal radio, yeah. But podcast, ukiambia dem to podcast, they feel it as something foreign because they're like, podcast? What is that? You know, not so many people are enlightened with what is a podcast, but it's just as simple as tapping to that play button and it plays the whole time, It doesn't even have to have any signal or anything, just tapping if you have network, I'm looking forward to actually having many ways of being able to tell people what podcasts are, but I'm really happy. Most people are coming up with podcasts and most people are embracing it, and I think within time, we're still growing as Kenyans, technology-wise and all that. I know that people will understand what podcast means and they'll opt it to normal radio because it's easily accessible, Yes.
Tell us about your listenership. Unajua kuna challenge. Ni watu wangapi wananisikiza? Ni watu wangapi? Umesema si kama radio has a wide range of listenership. But what about podcasts?
Yeah, it's not as much because you have to forward to people your links. You have to tell people, share the links, please share. Not so many people will share, they're just, I'll share. But, at the end of the day, most people won't share, But sending the links to as many people as possible, And I think it's more about the networking, because if a friend of mine will be like, hey, maybe you should listen to a friend of mine who does podcast. Even just showing them on your phone, and being like, I will listen to this specific episode, it was so interesting, and they'll be like, hey, and what's their name? How can I get to hear them? I think it's more about networking. Tell a friend before we get to that point, and using Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. I think that's the one means we're using, but sometimes it's disappointing when you just find that people are not listening to your podcast. But at the end of the day, you just like it's not about how many people, but that one person who has felt the impact of your voice somewhere, So I said in the beginning, when I started the podcast, I was not aimed at any fame, any money, goal-oriented, anything. It was just about enlightening people and getting enlightened on my own. And when you feel called to it, I'm happy. Yes.
Do you have the stats of your listenership?
Yeah?
Do you have the stats?
Yes, of course I do. I do. In the beginning, it was so good. Until now, it gets to some point and people start to get tired. But I just like to tell people, don't get tired. And bring more better things, better stories. Don't get tired of listening. Yes. And if you have anyone who can tell a better story or a good story, any story, you just tell me.
Are you free to collaborate with anyone?
Yes, I am so open. When I started the podcast, I was like, this is not my podcast, it's a community thing. If you feel called to it, I actually have posters that I put there. If you feel called to it, if you want to tell a story, if you want to have me as one of your person as we do the podcast, then well and good, I'm open to it. Yes.
You said your podcast is based on what platforms?
Yeah, there's Google Podcasts, there's Anchor FM, there's Spotify. Spotify is the most used one because most people can access podcasts. And Google Podcasts directly takes you there. Yeah.
Now that we are done with knowing who is Sly, what is Scars of a Warrior, the challenges, the experience, aside from that, what do you want to talk today?
So I'll start with, hi guys. Welcome to Scars of a Warrior, and feel safe, feel free, let it be a safe space, because this being a suicide prevention month, I think what I want to talk about is mental health and therapy. I want to approach that because it's not once, it's not twice. I have told someone I'm going to see a therapist and they're like, you're seeing a shrink? Oh my goodness, what's up with you? And it sounds foreign to them. Most people don't know what the function of therapy is. And when it comes to suicide, that's a very sensitive topic that people dismiss, that people misuse a lot. And when it comes to suicide, it's a call and die away. It's a call and die away. People say that most people who are suicidal are attention seekers, but I don't tend to believe that. I believe that they're people asking for help, and when someone asks for help, they should be able to get that help, And today I want to talk about therapy. therapy is not what people think out here, Yeah. So my journey, my healing journey, there are things that you can't go through alone. You can't really, even your friend won't help you out. You've been in a situation where someone is going through something and you say something and it worsens it. I have been through that situation and it's so frustrating because in your head, you're trying to help this person out, but when you're trying to help them out, you have worsened their situation, because that's not what they needed, they should have had, and when counselors go to school, they study the whole psychology, of a human being. So they know how to handle you in a way that you will address your issues feeling safe and feeling heard. So, most people think that therapy is a place where the therapist gives you solutions, but that's not true actually. A counselor just listens to you as you talk, and they actually give you ways that you'll be able to provide solutions for yourselves. They actually trigger you into actually questioning how you'll be able to handle the situation, And therapy should not be a last minute call. It should not be, I'm almost fucked up, I'm almost feeling done, let me call a therapist. No, it should be a way of life. People should embrace therapists, People should embrace going to a therapist, And, it's been hard because being a Kenyan, we have been taught to deal with the issues using just the normal things. People will use drugs, alcohol. Bro, you're not okay? Let's go drink something. You'll feel better after that,
Some people consider drug as maybe stress reliever, something like that.
Yes, but it only piles up those things, At the end of the day, when you're sober, it will still creep in your head, it will still come up, And it's normal to ask for help. It's not being weak, Going to a therapist, they call them a sheik, but I don't prefer to use that. It's a counselor, Going to the therapist is not something bad, It's actually a good way of life because most people are toxic out here because they don't know the work of a counselor, narcissists, toxic friends. It happens, toxic family, and even partners. The toxicity is running, and you tell a couple, a couple of days I was telling this couple, did you ever consider going to a therapist? And they're like, what? Go to a therapist and tell them our issues? No. Yes, it sounds unrealistic for someone, but I believe that counseling really helps a lot. In my healing journey, I can say that it has been a very long journey for me. There are things I could not have handled alone. I wouldn't have, even if I tried to talk to someone, I would have left them with the weight of the world, Like sometimes people don't work out your problems. They can't even work out your problems, because yes, they have not gone through what you've gone through, And also the fact that even if they have gone through, stories are different. Situations are different. But a therapist will come and in a neutral ground, they'll be like, I'm listening. They listen to you from the beginning till the end. Excuse me. And then they'll ask you, what do you think is the best way you can handle this? Or they start showing you the other side of the story. Do you see how you affected yourself in this area? Or do you see how you played a part in this area? So I feel like therapy should be a way of life. And even if it could be introduced in our syllabus, when we are, a counselor should be important in your life. It should, they enable you to see the other side of the coin, because most times we see just one side of the coin. We don't see the other side of the coin. But you can even relate, if you go to a therapist, you feel like your shoulders are so heavy. Getting out of that place, you feel so light. Because a therapist will engage you in activities that will help you heal in so many ways. And healing starts way back from childhood, because childhood is what formed most of people's personalities. Who you are right now was probably formed by your childhood, society, the people raising you. Now it's your job to actually know who you are when you grow up. That's why we always told, know who you are. But people take that lightly, you should know who you are, because that's not who you are. That was just a part of you that was formed when you were growing up. The things that were around you growing up, that's not just you. So growing up, you need to know who you really are. you heal the traumas that you went through as a child, because you won't start dating someone and you're like, no, this is why, because my childhood, that's why I'm toxic. You'll have to heal. You'll have to heal. Healing is the greatest part of life. It's the fruit that helps you grow. When you don't heal, you become a problem to yourself and to others. So I feel like people should embrace therapy, because people have been misusing therapy nowadays. Even if there are people who have been using it nicely, there are people who have been misusing it. When you're almost at the edge, when you're almost at the cliff, that's when you're calling and saying, yes, it's safe, it's good to call. There's even a toll number which you should call whenever you are feeling like you're at the edge, But I feel like it should not be a last minute thing. It should be something that you embrace from the moment. I feel like most people don't spend time to check in on themselves. Most people, when you're talking nowadays, it's usually, how are you? I'm good. That's the small talk people live with nowadays. But I feel like it should be a thing that you do in the morning. Start with telling yourself, how are you? Start with, how am I? How are you feeling? Just observe without judging yourself. You feel sad, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to feel okay, It's okay not to feel okay. So you're like, how am I feeling? I'm feeling sad today. I'm feeling a little bit down. I'm feeling happy. But first, you should be grateful for whatever feeling that is, because any feeling is a feeling, So you're like, how am I? So before you start to ask other people on WhatsApp, or before you get to your phone, I feel like it should be a personal responsibility to actually ask yourself, how am I feeling? How am I? Check on yourself first. And then now you can go on checking on other people. And people should actually be honest with how they are feeling, like when someone asks you, maybe most times people are walking corpses out here. Someone is numb, someone is dead inside. But when you ask them, how are you? I'm good. And a smile on their face, I'm good. But deep inside you're dead, or you're a corpse that is walking, But if you just told your friend, you can't help me out, but I'm just feeling suicidal, and I don't know, lately I've just been feeling like I want to get to the end. Your friend will actually be like, honestly, do you want to talk about it? And if you don't want to talk about it, do you want to talk to a profession? There are people who would actually prefer to talk to someone else who they're familiar with, rather than go to a therapist, and it actually works for them. But the others will be like, oh no, this person will judge me, probably this person will just not help me out, So I feel like people should start by checking on themselves early in the morning when you just wake up. And every feeling is valid. Just don't judge yourself harshly for feeling anything. Just observe your mind and don't judge it, and just let it flow. We always told, spiritually, it's usually like, observe, be the observer of your mind. Just be the observer, and at the end of the day, you just watch your feelings flowing like a river. So
the idea of therapy and seeing a therapist or shrink in Kenya is very, very foreign. Yes. So most people, let's say, it affects most men. They are not prone to open up to anybody. Yeah. So this being a suicide prevention month, what would you advise? Maybe you can advise the young men, the youth, just anybody who would think of maybe doing the worst thing possible.
Yeah, it was not long ago we heard of a guy who actually killed himself. And it's so sad that we're living still in that era of toxic masculinity where expressing your feelings as a man is foreign. No, it should be a lifestyle, it should be a normal way of life. After all, Ricky, are you human? Yes, you're human just like I am. Do you have a heart? Check. Exactly. So I feel like being a man doesn't really exclude you from being prone to all these things, because I feel like that we are over that time, Manze. If you're still living in that place where you believe that a man should not express himself, please go. Aki, please just leave, because we're in this era where we're telling men it's okay to ask for help. Be it financial help, be it emotional help, be it physical help. We see men who are not as energetic as some women, two of us.
True.
Some woman who can lift something so heavy here and a man with him on bed like, oh. But he'll force himself because the society has taught us to believe that the man should be the one so energetic, so financially stable, and that has led us to being so toxic. That's toxic masculinity. So for me, I feel like we should be open to this regime of men expressing themselves and actually talking about their feelings. Be it relationship-wise, be it friendship-wise, like talking about it without judgment. It starts with you, it starts with me, understanding that a man is a human being just like me, and it doesn't really lower his respect because he's expressing his feelings, you get? And because he's vulnerable, that's part of being human. It's not being man or woman. Being vulnerable is part of being human. And that should be something everyone should embrace, because after all, that thing is so old. That thing is so old. Men out here are suffering out here because they can't talk about their financial issues, because a man is supposed to be financially stable, and he can't even tell his girlfriend, babe, I don't have finances, because you can find that the woman has money, but the man doesn't have money at the moment. But it's hard because the society has taught us to see that a man should always be the one to provide.
You can't humble yourself to anything.
You can't, because and this has led so many men into issues, like having mental issues, because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't have money, I can't start telling my girlfriend I don't have money, and it's, that's so old for me. And I feel like people should embrace this era where people should express themselves, be it a man, be it a woman, because even men have feelings, and most of them battle with them secretly because they have been taught not to show them to the world, but it's normal. I actually find it so brave when someone is vulnerable.
Being the Suicide Prevention Month, as Campus Vines, we had an initiative that, it's more like a campaign or an awareness program to ask you who is out there, what if tomorrow is the day that, what if tomorrow is the day that, what if tomorrow is the day that,
what if tomorrow is the day that that guy who has been battling his demons in his blankets decides he's tired, and he's tired of this world where people have to judge him for being a man, and they have to put him inside his blankets every day, and at the end of the day he doesn't want to be the man anymore because he doesn't want to live anymore. What if that's the day? It's gonna be sad. People are gonna grieve. But are we gonna talk about it? How men need to talk about their feelings, how it's so normal to go and see a counselor because you're not okay. Mental health is something so normal, and it's not a weakness that you are weak at this particular point and you're feeling like you're losing it. No, it's not weak at all. It's so strong because nobody knows their minds. We're still learning each day what your mind can do and what it can't do. So if you feel like it's at its brim and your soul is dying and your spirit is dying, let it not be that day. Let it not be that day. Yeah.
We have been on the topic of mental health and suicide prevention with the podcaster Sylvia. And in conclusion, what would you say about this?
A warrior accepts that he is weak at some things and he's strong at some things. And sometimes, even when he's so strong at some things, it gets to a point that he gets weak. He's probably been hit by a bullet, by an arrow, and that's just how life is. It throws everything at us. And at that point, you thought you were strong, and now you're weak. It's okay. It's okay to be weak because that's the human part of being, I'd say that day you wake up and you're feeling you're not okay, and you feel like you need to talk to someone, don't think twice. Just talk to someone. Because it's as simple as getting it out, letting it out. They say if there's no enemy within, there's no enemy without. That's what my counselor loves to say. So if there's no enemy within you, there's no enemy without you. So I say that being a suicide prevention month, you have that friend who's been struggling with mental health. Sometimes you can't help them out because sometimes even you're going through some things that you have not spoken about. Tell them to talk to a profession. You know, they're cheaper therapists, they're cheaper counselors, and actually most of them don't have jobs. I've had so many people in Moi graduate and they're like, guys, Sly, we're starting with 1,000 for counseling each session. Come on, like, refer us to anyone, you know? And I'm like, yes, you know. So I feel like everyone should adapt it as a way of life, even if it's talking to yourself and talking to someone you can confide in. It doesn't have to be a counselor, it can be someone you can find in and you can trust. So if you have that feeling and you feel you're not okay, don't do it. Don't think twice. Just, it's okay, it's human, it's totally human to feel that way. So yeah, I also, if you're at a place where you've gotten to an edge, there is no judgment, by the way. There's a tall number. And if you've gotten to that point where you feel you're at the edge, at the corner, there's no judgment, really, it's so normal. I'd ask, instead of taking that rope, instead of harming yourself, instead of self-harm, instead of even doing yourself anything, call the toll-free number. It's a free toll number. You can call it anytime, 800-273. 800-273. They can always help you out. And don't be scared. It's so normal. It's so normal and it's human to be vulnerable. And I say, only the brave choose to acknowledge they're human and to be vulnerable in it. Yes. And so, thank you for listening to Scars of a Warrior. It was nice talking about mental health and therapy, and I hope many people actually get to embrace therapy as a way of life. And yes, you can get therapy at the most affordable places. There are graduates who have studied this course and they are asking for jobs, you know. Just get to talk to someone. You need help, it's human, and some healing needs help. Some healing you can't do on your own. You need help because it's too much. And some of it, my counselor loves to say, it was never your fault. Nothing was your fault. It all happened. Just make sure that what comes after this is not your fault because you're responsible for your own self. So thank you so much. Cheers, cheers, cheers. So you can check me out on my Instagram page on African Warmth. Yes, and there you can find my link on the bio of the podcast. It's called Anchor FM 746 episodes. Yes, so thank you so much and bye.